All. The Board of County Commissioners' regular meeting will convene September 7th, 2021. If we could rise for the Invocation Pledge. Beforehand, I just would like to ask for a moment of silence. We as the county have lost 4 people as a result of COVID, and just think it's appropriate to bow our heads and just think about them and their families. Thank you very much. In the invocation, Pastor Phyllis Lafort. Good morning.
Good morning. Reading from Psalm 67. May God be gracious to us and bless us, and make his face shine upon us, that your ways may be known on earth, your salvation among all nations. May the peoples praise you, O God. May all the peoples praise you. May the nations be glad and sing for joy, for you rule the peoples justly and guide the nations of the earth. May the peoples praise you, O God. May all the peoples praise you. Then the land will yield its harvest, and God, our God, will bless us. God will bless us. Shall we pray? Dear God, the creator of heaven and earth, we thank you this morning for the life you have given us, for the privilege of living in a free country. We honor you and thank you for those who have served, sacrificed, and given their lives for our freedom, especially as we are remembering the events of September 11th. May we never take our freedom for granted. We come to you this morning humbly and ask that you would watch over our community, protect those who call Lee County their home. We thank you for those who serve us every day and ask that you would be with all those who work in our school system, our first responders, our police, our firefighters, all our county workers. Keep them safe. It's been a very, very difficult time, so help each one of us to do the right thing as we try to move forward. I thank you for this board, their willingness to serve us. You know the issues that are before them today. I pray that there will be unity in this room as we look to you for divine guidance and direction. I pray that you will bless each of them personally, whatever their needs are. Then, God, our country needs you. May our leaders seek you. May we come together as one, be united with peace throughout. We give you thanks today and ask that you would bless us, our county, and bless the United States of America. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Turn to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I really appreciate the prayer today, Pastor. Very good. Thank you very much. Heartfelt. Next on the agenda are some ceremonial presentations. The first one we'll have is Commissioner Pendergrass.
Great. Thank you, Chairman. If I could have Animal Services come forward. Karen and Pablo. Karen is a very special guest this morning. Chico's here. If you don't see Chico, it's because he's really small. He's 6 years old, and he's looking for a great home. So I'm out there watching, and I know if you're out there watching, and we have plenty of animals in stock right now down at Animal Services, and maybe Karen give us an update what any programs coming up. Leading into also next month is Halloween, so I know we always have a Black Cat special.
We don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned for that for October. This month, we have Clear the Shelters on September 18th. So leading up to that, we have a different pet of the day every day where our adoption fees are waived. Chico is our pet of the day today. So keep an eye on our Facebook page. It has a different pet of the day every day. If you have an approved application, their adoption fee is waived each day. And then on September 18th, we are by appointment only right now, so if you make an appointment ahead of time, all adoption fees are waived that day for Clear the Shelters. We also have adoption events going on with Lee County Sheriff's Office at their outreach centers. Thursday is at the Miramar one from 10 until 12, and then the 23rd at the downtown location.
Great.
So,
Plenty of opportunity for people out there to come and afford and adopt a pet and bring it home. So thank you for everything.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
And are we taking appointments only right now for people coming in?
Correct. Appointment only. It's very easy to get an appointment, do your application ahead of time. It cuts down on, your time in the building, and you can make an appointment for a specific pet, which definitely makes it easier as well. And then if that one isn't the one that you like, we definitely have plenty more while you're there, so
Great.
now's the
Okay.
time to come out.
Well, thank you very much, Karen. Thank you,
Thank
Pablo.
you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Chico. That was a cute little lap dog. Yeah. Thank you, Chairman.
No problem, my pleasure. Thank you. The
I
next,
love that picture, Mr. Chairman, the
Oh, yeah.
pet of the month and the dog.
I knew you would like that, Commissioner.
the next recognition is by Commissioner Mann.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Commissioners, it was my pleasure to know Ed Kimball and work with him closely. We lost him recently, but he put literally thousands of hours of service into the eastern part of this county, and we wanted to take a moment and recognize him. He worked very closely with Fire Chief Chris DeWallaby. Chris, would you come up, and have you got Barbara with you? That's Ed's sister. If the two of you could stand right here while I read some nice things about your brother. Thank you very much. Whereas Edward L. Kimball has been a driving influence in making the Fort Myers Shores, Tice, Olga, and Alva communities a better place to work and live through his many hours of community service until his sad passing on June 27th, 2021, and whereas his strongest attribute was his vision of what Fort Myers Shores, Tice, Olga, and Alva communities could become, and through his leadership and countless hours of personal effort proved that any obstacles could be overcome. And whereas Ed was a proud member of the Fort Myers Shores Fire Protection and Rescue Service District Board of Fire Commissioners since 2008, and during his tenure as a fire commissioner, he was awarded the district's highest honor, the Walter Pete G. Award for Excellence. And whereas he was also awarded the Fort Myers Shores Fire Protection and Rescue Service District Citizen of the Year prior to joining the Fire Board of Commissioners. And whereas Ed, a friend to all whom he met, never lost sight of the importance of family, both formal and extended, whom he loved and mentored. And Ed could always be depended on when someone in the community had a need. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida, does hereby recognize and honor Ed Kimball for his inspirational legacy and for his demonstrated love of community, signed by our chairman this 7th day of September 2021. We loved you, brother. What a fine fellow. What a fine commissioner to have worked with. Chief, thank you for being with us today. So, in his honor, would you come get your picture taken? Chief, you come up here too. One for each of y'all. If you can stand here in front of this handsome group. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Thank
Ms.
you very
Rumpf,
much.
would you like to say a word or two? Yes. Why don't you while you're here? Sure. Chief, we'd love to hear from you too.
Ed was the most caring, giving, and humble person. He gave of his time and energy. He gave of concern for others. He gave of his knowledge and wisdom. And he gave of his finances whenever he saw a need. Ed was my brother and my very best friend. May he rest in peace. Thank you.
Lady.
That
Thank
was
you,
beautiful.
Chief.
Ed was a great member of our community, a great member of the Board of Commissioners. He will be sorely missed, and he was a great mentor for myself and for the guys at the department.
You both got huge feet now, or shoes to fill. So go with God. Thank you for being with us this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next, you have one more presentation by Commissioner Hammond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much. This one is a real honor to get to read on behalf of the board here this morning. We're recognizing our employees here in Lee County, and I think after the last 18 months, really even the last 2 years, we have seen just some amazing work and dedication and just servant hearts by our employees. And so it is my privilege to read this resolution into the record this morning, celebrating Employee Recognition Day and Appreciation Day. So the resolution reads as follows: whereas Lee County government employees are known throughout Southwest Florida for their professionalism, honesty, work ethic, and experience. Whereas throughout the past year, employees in every department faced incredible challenges and showed tremendous fortitude and resolve in their response to the COVID-19 pandemic, from the initial testing rollout to the distribution of vaccines, as well as the creation of a completely new assistance program, Lee Cares, all while conducting the normal day-to-day operations of the county. And whereas the efforts of our employees helped keep Lee County businesses open and assisted families in need to receive critical resources through the Lee Cares programs such as individual, business, and child care assistance, PPE distribution, food security, and human services grant programs. And whereas employees embrace the spirit of collaboration and innovation by either taking on emergency role or E-role assignments, or by taking on additional responsibilities to keep Lee County operating smoothly while colleagues were assigned elsewhere. And whereas June 28, 1894, Congress passed an act establishing that the first Monday in September would henceforth be known and observed as Labor Day to honor workers and celebrate them for their accomplishments. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida proclaims September 7th as Lee County Employee Appreciation Day in Lee County to commemorate how well they serve our citizens in Lee County and the impact they have on our community each and every day. It's duly executed this 7th day of September by our Honorable Chairman, Kevin Ruane. Thank you very much to all of our employees. Big round of applause. And let's hand it off to our Chief Executive Officer, our County Manager. Thank you.
Outstanding job on behalf of 2,500 of your buddies. You'll pass a handshake.
It'll take treasure.
Perfect. And yes, we
Absolutely,
also want to
please.
show the E-roll video too.
Absolutely, please.
Commissioners, thank you on behalf of all the county employees. The resolution, Commissioner, that you just read, I think said it very well, and so I don't know that I can say much more than that, other than to express extreme gratitude to our employees for all the work that they've done, especially in the last couple of years when we think about the kind of disaster we've been experiencing for that period of time. You know, we respond to hurricanes and a lot of other things, but those are short-lived. But this is truly a disaster for not just our community, but for everyone. And our employees, through this E-roll process, it was amazing to see people step up to serve the community, to do work that they've never done before, to work the hours that they worked, and to show the kind of dedication. You know, we've watched all the commercials on television talk about everyone who's worked so hard to take care of everyone during this pandemic. And our employees may not be in the hospitals, but they are responding to people's homes to take care of them. We are vaccinating them. We are continuing to do the work that we need to do in order to serve the community. And I would like to tell you that all of our employees have played just as an important a role in serving the public during this pandemic as anyone else has. And so we greatly appreciate the recognition today, Commissioners, and of course, I'd like to recognize you as well. You know, we can't do this work without the trustful relationship that we have with you. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Mr. County Manager. I think the county manager said it absolutely, best. Our employees are extremely talented. We saw that talent across multiple platforms displayed throughout this last 18 months, and they prepared a video that they wanted to show for everybody this morning about the emergency roles that our employees took on. So if we can go ahead and take a look at that video.
Thank you.
That'd be great.
Our emergency management team came forward with an idea of rostering all of our employees for their skill sets, not just as it relates to their job duties, but as it actually relates to their life skills. And we've used that for other emergencies so that we can provide service to our community in times of need.
Whether it's a hurricane or a pandemic, they will be called upon to help serve in a different capacity than possibly what their day-to-day job is.
It was absolutely rewarding just to see all of these Lee County employees band together.
Good team mentality, and that's kind of what it takes to do something like this.
We're doing a very critical, very important job every time, and really everybody has to come together.
This really embodies the one organization culture. Is at its core our philosophy of our collective wisdom and the collective resources to support the community.
I also want to mention that there's a great group of staff that help out at the department level. Those are our department essential employees. They have to cover for the employees that are serving during the E-roll, and they are just as important to the disaster as the employee that is serving in the emergency role.
We had to make sure that the customers were still getting what they needed. I think Lee County is stronger because of E-roll and One Org. Not only did it give us as employees the opportunity to come together and meet other employees that we would have never had the chance or the opportunity to work with, share our talents, share our experiences, work together to make whatever system that we were working on better. It has really connected us as one family. Forget one organization, we're now one family.
Very good. Finally, Mr. Chairman, before I hand it back over, just wanted to say congratulations to Roger. Thank you for your leadership of our organization. They're bringing in the One Org culture and philosophy. It truly shined during this pandemic, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Not a problem. Thanks. And listen, as the newest member here, I can tell you it's been an honor to work with each and every one of you. I appreciate what you do and how you make our job so much easier preparing us for what we do. So I can't thank you enough, and during these trying times, all you've done is step up. So thank each and every one of you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
My pleasure. Next, we'll go to the consent agenda item. Are there any items that the board would like to pull for consent agenda?
Chairman, I have three. I'm sorry I was out of town most of last week, and Labor Day took away my chance to look at some of these. I don't think this will take much time, but I'd like to pull number 7, number 9, and number 25 on the consent agenda.
Anybody else?
I have none.
I have none.
I'll move approval of the balance, Mr. Chairman.
And I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Any public comment on the balance? Seeing none, I'll close public comment.
Glenn got number 7.
Any other discussion here at the commission? Seeing none, any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Let's go to item number 7 first, please.
Number 7, Roger, who can I ask?
Glenn, Mr. Sellier?
Glenn, this is a simple request to get some money for the county to do some water projects in Lehigh Acres. My question is, why is that us that's asking for the money and not Lamset, who normally does all water and flooding type issues?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Mann, these are Rebuild Florida grants, and the county has to be the applicant. So this is the same pot of money that we got funding to do all of that work that we're doing down in San Carlos Park. This is the same pot of money, just a different grant cycle. The county has to be the applicant, and so if we did get the money, we would also be the project manager. And we would work with Lamset, of course.
Because the purpose of the money's use seems to be what normally would be handled by Lamset if they had that free money.
Yes, sir, you are correct.
I mean, is there a chance that we would contract back with them to do this? I'm not suggesting that, but since it's normally their role, I'm just wondering how they get left out of this.
Well, again, it's because the county has to be the applicant and the grant recipient, and we are ultimately responsible for those funds. So while we would work with LAMCID, we would still be the overall project manager.
Okay, well, and it's only, we're just asking for the money. We don't have it yet.
We do not have it yet, no.
We would have to approve the expenditure if it were approved later on. Thank you very much. I move the item, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 9.
Mr. Chairman, this involves a purpose of over 3 years, 554 new computers. I just need to understand, how do we decide when 554 computers are worn out or no longer function well?
Good morning, Ashley Mason. So what we do every year is we look across our entire fleet of computers, and we look to see which ones are the oldest that need to come out of that fleet and be refreshed. So that is this 554.
But we're going to do a third this year and a third the next 2 years?
Every year we'll do a fifth of the fleet.
Every year for 3 years?
5 years.
5 years.
Yes, it's a 5-year cycle.
And is there some simple definition that an elderly commissioner from the 5th could understand what determines that they're no longer usable?
Ms. Brady?
If I can help, when you look at these computers and the technology, generally the technology within those computers is replaced every 18 months. So as the computers continue to age, the technology in it also ages, and they're no longer compatible with all of our software and our infrastructure. So it requires the refresh of computers so that we are making sure that we're up to date on all the current technology.
Describe for me a typical staffer who's sitting in front of one of these computers. What role are they playing? What are they doing? How are they utilizing this equipment?
I mean, it varies from department to department. So you can look at permitting clerks, and you can look at all of the folks within DCD who are using it for plan review. You can look at our public safety folks who are using it out on the road to file all of their reports. You can look at it from Parks and Recreation, who's using it to create their websites, and they're using it for registration of things like summer camp and summer programs. As you're aware with our library, that's some of our highest usage of computers, and that is mostly for citizens' use at those facilities and libraries. So when you look across the spectrum of departments that we have, they really are being utilized in different fashions.
Okay, thank you. And you did say this is consistent with the way we have replaced all computers, desktops, for as long as you can remember back.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I move the item.
Second.
This is a second. I do have a comment, just from a practical point of view, and I don't need really, having a fairly decent-sized organization personally, it's not uncommon to go through a capital improvement program and look at the things of this nature. It's what we commonly do. And quite frankly, we're probably replacing on a 3-year cycle, not a 5-year cycle, just because technology is always changing. You need so many different opportunities to safeguard your computers. There's so many different viruses out there, firewalls. There's just so much things that you need to do. Probably one of the best investments, dollar for dollar, that we make, and I really appreciate it.
Chairman?
Yes.
A question, as we go through the ones that are functionally obsolete, what do we do with those? Is there a venue that we can deploy those to the community in some fashion?
Chris?
There is a procurement process for decommissioning, I believe is the word. So we work with Mary Tucker and her team in making sure that we're following our procurement processes for disposal of those assets.
Okay, it always seems like there's a lot of needs out there. If we can help fulfill that, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I believe, Mr. Chairman, if I may too, on one of the exciting things about this specific contract, there's actually a trade-in value that comes with some of these computers that we're leasing that we can trade them back in for.
Most programs do have upgrade facilities, and that's what you take advantage of. But yeah, that's a great point, Commissioner. Do I have any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. I have a motion and a second, some good conversation. Anything else? Any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 25.
Ms. Paget?
Ms. Pygott, as you're coming forward, let me mention, this has to do with TDC money, but it's $12 million. That's what caught my attention. I'd like just for you to give a little explanation as to what we do with that $12 million. The TDC, you know, we build and maintain big baseball fields, and we do a lot of other capital projects that are very important to the interest of tourism and our local citizens as well. But now this goes to the advertising program, and could you just give us a thumbnail sketch of, this is going to be like $4 million a year for 3 years?
No, sir.
More than that.
$12 million a year. Just talking about the bed tax as a whole, little more than half of the bed tax we put into the marketing program. Little more than a quarter we put into our beach and shoreline program, and we put 20% into the debt service and the maintenance of our spring training facilities, our sports facilities.
But this is marketing.
This is the marketing portion.
Explain how that money gets spent.
Yes, sir. So our goal is to make sure.
$12 million a year.
Yes, sir. About 3/4 of it is spent directly on media. That's purchased ads throughout digital and print media, primarily digital now. Most of our media is digital. And the remaining portion goes into our website, public relations efforts, et cetera. But yes, sir, $12 million a year.
Where do we advertise?
Where don't we advertise? Primarily, you know, as you would suspect, primarily domestically, but also a little bit internationally. And that effort reaps significant rewards for our community. Our visitors, non-COVID year, spend about $3.3 billion in our community, so it has a big payoff for us.
And we've been paying approximately the same $12 million for X years?
I would say the last about 5 years, that's been about our number. A little bit of variation there. Of course, when we've had some emergencies, we've pulled a little bit of money out of reserves to pump up the coffers, but that $12 million's been pretty consistent.
And even during the pandemic, we've had remarkable resilience in our advertising program results.
Yes, sir. You know, of course, tourism took a big hit during the pandemic, and there's no question that that happened. But proudly, because we had been having such a good performance going into the pandemic, our revenue dipped only 11%, actually a little less than 11%. And as you can guess, with the way things have been this summer, people are anxious to be back here, and we've had really good results. In fact, our revenue this year will exceed 2019.
That alone was a point that I wanted to hear you make out here, that this money is being very well spent, and we're seeing a rebound after one of the scariest periods we've ever been through.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for the great work you continue to do, and I'll move the item.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion is second. Any public comment? Seeing none. Bring it back to the commission level. I can't thank you enough, Tam, for all you do. I mean, I did have, and I know the commissioner is the chair here, but did have the privilege of sitting on that board. It really is a great return on investment when you look at the economic impact it has here. So thank you, and certainly happy to go along with that, and think it's just a formula that continues to work. So great job.
Mr. Chairman, just one final comment too. I'd like to congratulate the BCB team for the awards. That was a phenomenal event, acknowledging a lot of people that typically don't get that visibility, and I think it energized the whole program, so thank you for that.
Motion is second on the floor. Any opposition? See none. Motion carries unanimously. That will close the consent agenda. All items have been addressed. We'll now move on to the administrative agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Clemens, will you please present administrative agenda item number 1, which is the approval of a purchase of land for conservation 2020 in Cape Coral.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Clemens, County Lands. This is a request to approve a purchase of about a 22-acre tract of land that's in the city limits of Cape Coral. The purchase price is below the average of the 2 appraisals. The purchase price is $1,485,000. As you can see, this property fronts on basically 2 creeks, Yellow Fever Creek and Hancock Creek, and all this being south of Pine Island Road. And it is just northwest of a existing county park, Judd Park in North Fort Myers. It was approved by Class Act by a 7-to-1 vote to proceed and recommend that the board approve this item. Any questions?
Any questions?
I'll move the item for approval.
I'll second it. Motion is second. Any public comment? See none, I'll close public comment. Any other discussion?
Just real quickly, Robert, while you're still there, this was potentially a development opportunity, right, for several hundred units?
Correct. The development is part of, if you look in the northwest portion, you see kind of a footprint under the words conservation. This is all part of that subdivision from which that development came from. So this will be carving out the southerly portion of that subdivision, which will alleviate some potential traffic impacts on Heron Road. That is a county road, and again, this is a parcel that is in the city of Cape Coral.
Thanks, Mr. Clemens. And that's one of the reasons, Mr. Chairman, why I was really glad to make the motion for approval for this one. With this being a tributary to the Caloosahatchee River, to have an opportunity to preserve this land instead of seeing the development right there on that tributary, and also provide the traffic relief, it just made a lot of sense. So this is a good one for us.
Absolutely, and it just shows you just how committed we continue to be, and what just fails to get recognized, just how much money we continue to allocate and spending in Conservation 2020. So happy to second it as well. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 2, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This would be your annual Chief Hearing Examiner's annual merit increase consideration. And Commissioner, this is your item to consider based on the hearing examiner's contract. Mr. Wesch, do we need to provide any further explanation?
Yes, sir.
I apologize. Consistent with her employment agreement, she is entitled to no less than 4%, no more than 6% at the discretion of the board based on last year's performance. If there are any questions, we're happy to attempt to answer them.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Gentlemen, thoughts?
I'll make a motion that we approve the hearing examiners with a 6% raise.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for 6%. Any public comment? Seeing none, any other discussion? Seeing none, any opposition? Motion carries unanimously at 6%.
Great, thank you. I'd just like to say thank you to Donna Marie, our hearing examiner, and all the staff in that office. They worked really hard the last couple of years, and obviously it showed based upon the evaluations the board gave her. We have 3 employees that work for us, and that's the county manager, county attorney, and the HEX. So thank you for everything they do in their office over there.
Wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen. Next item is number 3 on the...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 3, Mr. Searchy, will you please come to the podium and present the item, which is to modify Daniels Parkway Controlled Access Resolution for West Chamberlain Parkway.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a request to modify the Daniels Parkway Controlled Access Resolution for a right-in, right-out driveway, approximately Station 2435, which is west of Chamberlain and east of Treeline. It'll service that whole corner set of properties on the southeast corner of Treeline and Daniels. They have another access on Halter Lane, which is signalized, and this will provide a secondary access in and out of those properties. DOT recommends approval for this.
I'll move the item.
Second?
A motion, a second on the floor. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any other discussion?
Randy? I'm sorry, did you, can you just give verbally a timeline for this? Do you have a timeline?
We don't. It'll depend on when they come in and get a development order to develop their property. What they're going to do is bring traffic in off of Daniels on their property. So I'm not sure that they're that far along yet.
Why I was asking is for the board's reminding everybody that in the future we'll be expanding Daniels Parkway from Appaloosa down to Treeline just west of this. So this will be hopefully in conjunction with the same timing. I know it depends on the development order, but hopefully that improves the whole east-west corridor there of Daniels Parkway. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, a second on the floor. We've closed public comment. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries unanimous. Item number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Keys, please come to the podium and present the item, which is to award construction contract for North Lee County Wellfield expansion.
Good morning, Commissioners. This item is for scope of services to construct the above-ground equipment for 6 raw water wells for our North Lee County water treatment plant. It also includes the construction of the transmission line from the wells to the plant. This is a partner contract with one that you've approved in March for the drilling of the wells, and we anticipate construction to begin in November of this year, 2021.
Mr. Chairman, just quick, could you figuratively, it goes from point A to point B, 34,000 feet.
Correct.
Feet, that's a lot of pipe. And it goes from essentially where the new wells are going to be drilled to the plant, which is located. Walk me through where that's all going to happen.
Sure. These wells, these are 6 wells that are located west of our North Lee County water treatment plant. So the transmission lines will be from each of those 6 locations to our plant in North Lee County. So we'll be coming back to you for a second phase, which will include additional wells for east of the plant.
What did we approve recently?
So,
Drilling of...
Yeah, just the drilling of the 6 wells on the west side. And what we've discussed before are those wells on the east side.
So when's the drilling start and finish? And when is this going to be done, the whole project?
So for this construction contract, we will begin construction in November, and we anticipate it'll take about 12 months. So we hope to have those 6 wells in operation in about 12 months from now.
Are you anticipating any transportation issues while we're digging alongside the road there?
We don't. We coordinate with our DOT partners, but most of our work is in the right-of-way outside of the roadway.
Thank you very much.
I'll move the item.
Second?
Motion, a second on the floor. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any other discussion?
I'd just like to say, Chairman, thank you for staff bringing this forward. It's great we get this out publicly. There's wells across the county. I know for some reason people think there's only one well in Lee County in the sterile for water, but there's over 130 wells in Lee County. So drinking water, we have plenty of water here in Lee County, and we're going to continue to have a good product to our customers throughout the county. So thank you for staff bringing this forward.
Seeing no other discussion, any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. That'll conclude the administrative agenda portion. Now we'll go into public hearing.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Amanda Swindle, Senior Assistant County Attorney. I have your first public hearing this morning, which has been duly advertised. This is a hearing to adopt the solid waste special assessment charges for the fiscal year 2021-2022. This is in accordance with Lee County ordinances. If you have any questions, staff is available.
I'll move the item for approval, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it. Motion is second on the floor. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 2 on the public hearing.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Halverson with the Lee County Attorney's Office. I have your next 3 public hearings this morning. Item number 2 this morning is an action to approve the final assessment for the Telegraph Creek Bridge Capital Improvement Project, MSBU, and to adopt a resolution ratifying the completion of the improvements and confirming a preliminary assessment rule. This has been duly advertised, and I'll provide the clerk with the affidavit of publication.
I'm prepared to move.
If there are any questions, staff is available.
If there's no public comment, I'll move the item.
I'll second.
A motion is second on the floor. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 3.
Item number 3 this morning is a petition to vacate a public's interest in an unimproved public utility and drainage easement centered along the common property lot line between lots 15 and 16, located at 920 Aussie Avenue South and Lehigh Acres. If there's any questions, staff is available for questions.
I'll move this item too.
Second.
Motion is second. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any other discussion? Seeing none, any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Item number 4.
Item number 4 is a petition to vacate the public's interest in the unimproved public utility easement centered along a common property lot line of lots 20 and 21 of the platted lots at 915 DeSoto Avenue, also in Lehigh Acres. This has been duly advertised and fronting the affidavit of publication with the clerk.
I also move this Lehigh Acres vacation.
I'll second your vacation.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any other discussion? Seeing none, any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. That concludes public hearings. I don't have any walk-ons or carry-ons that I'm aware of. Commissioner items.
No, I have appointment.
No items. Appointees. Okay. Commissioner appointment.
I have 3, Mr. Chairman. James Inc. to the ER Executive Oversight Regulatory Committee, John Bodner to the Parks and Rec, and Al Quattrone to Land Development Code.
Second.
Motion is second. Any public comment? Seeing none, any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Commissioner?
I have none.
I have one. I have Dana Shepherd for the Cherry Estates Operation and Maintenance.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any public comment? Seeing none, close public comment. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
I have 2. It's reappointment of Doug Gear to the IDA, and Doug Gear also reappointment to the Educational Facilities Authority.
Second.
Motion is second. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Any other discussion? Seeing none, any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Sandelli.
I've got 3. I've got a new one, Jessica Marcolini to the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee, a reappointment of Tracy Hayden to the Executive Regulatory Oversight, and a reappointment of Patrick Vanessa to the Land Development Code.
Second.
Motion is second. Thank you. Any public comment? I'll close public comment. Any other discussion? Seeing none, any opposition? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Next item is County Manager item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would like to ask Mr. Salyer, with your permission, to present for you a redistricting update. As you know, every 10 years, we take up that task following the receipt of census data. So, Mr. Salyer.
Thank you. Good morning again. Commissioners, as you know, the Census Bureau is very late this year in releasing census data because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. So we do have a very condensed redistricting schedule versus what it would normally be. I am pleased to let you know that Rick Burris and the Department of Community Development team we're able to make use of the initial census data release, which is great because that puts us a little bit ahead of our anticipated schedule. A lot of jurisdictions are still waiting on the release that's yet to happen next week. But we do have some preliminary data to go over with you. Before we do that, I do want to reflect on the redistricting schedule. We are looking at 4 public meetings, including 3 public hearings, where the board would review map options, give staff direction, take public input, and the whole process. And then the meeting in December is more administrative in nature. You do have to transmit the entire certified package once you adopt the maps to the Secretary of State. Any questions about the public meetings before we move on? Okay, yes, sir.
I had a question, Chairman. Sure. Glenn, just going back historically, so we did this in 2010, 11. I wasn't here at the time. Does the school district have to follow our districting maps or the other authorities within the county?
No, sir, they do not. It might be that the county attorney would be better positioned to answer, except I would say that while I know historically the school district has often mirrored the county commissioners, they certainly don't have to do that.
So I think what's happened back then 10 years ago and what's happening now, there's miscommunication that I remember when that happened back in 2010, there's a lot of people were concerned at the time. I was associated with the city of Fort Myers, and a lot of people within the city of Fort Myers and Dunbar were actually the city and the county was split in half there, the city was. And so the school district picked up those same maps, and it really separated the community within the school district. But their elections are single-member districts and county-wide seats, where all our commission seats are county-wide. So when we vote, people vote for us throughout the county. So you could have one district of 100% of a group. It doesn't make a difference because you're elected county-wide. But what happens when the school district and other districts would basically mirror our map, then that separates it. I think that's the concern that people had then in 2010 and maybe coming up now in the future, is because of the way the school district did that. Again, the school board has single-member districts where the county is county-wide. So you can live anywhere in Lee County. It's not going to make a difference based upon the population. But I understand our districts are going to follow the law and not have any influence from the board or even outside groups and mirror the community based upon not being racist or being gender or disqualifying people from the districts, correct?
Yes, sir, you are correct. As you point out, there are very distinct differences between school board single-member districts versus the board's at-large districts. That said, we absolutely consider alternatives based on equalization of population distribution, compact boundaries, alignment with census geography, boundaries that follow prominent physical features, limited splitting of established neighborhoods, similar boundaries to existing districts, which you will see. We avoid any packing or diluting of minority population. And so all of those factors are still considered in your redistricting process, even though all 5 seats are elected countywide.
Right. That's what I want to make sure we cover, because again, what happened in 2010 with the school district mirroring our districts, there was people in the community wondering where that happened for 3 or 4 years. I remember going to some meeting and having a conversation with people that they didn't realize they had changed their district. They thought they still live in District 2, but actually they lived in District 4, if you live in that area of Edison and Ford, for example. So it was really upsetting to a lot of people in the community, that the school district. So that would be an issue with the school district. They would have to make their maps based upon their own census data, correct?
Yes, sir, they can certainly draw their own district map.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we could go to the next slide, please. So we do want to show you the data as we have it now. This map depicts your current population within each district, and it compares it to the 2010 numbers. You can see the lowest population at 144,000, the highest at 160,000. After everybody's had a chance to just look at that for a minute, I'll go to the next slide, please. This table shows the population distribution between the districts for 2020 census, and then it shows you how far off the mark each district is in terms of perfect population equalization. So you're looking at 152,000 people is essentially the equal number. District 4 is almost exactly on target. The rest of the districts are between 3 and 5% away from that target. Typically speaking, if you're within 5% plus or minus, that's acceptable. So we've got a situation here where the current districts almost work. Your community development team and the previous board did a good job anticipating future growth, but we do need to recommend some map changes in order to make you completely compliant here. And with that, I would try to answer any additional questions you may have.
Chairman, if I could. So I see the numbers here, and it says, it seems kind of, I know the census, we have to go by the census, it's the count, but it's hard to believe in 10 years some of the districts went down in numbers and some increased as much as they, I personally thought our numbers would come in higher. If you add these numbers all together, 760,822 people. Based upon what's happened in Lee County over the last 10 years, I know the census, we have to go by that, but in reality, that's probably not a really good number to go by because we've all seen how much we've grown throughout the community. To see that, say, District 1 actually decrease in value, in size. It's not that, it's just big, what's...
No, sir, let me clarify. What that shows in District 1 is that to be perfectly equal in 2020 population, you need 152,000 people.
Okay.
It has 144,000, so it's 8,000 below the equalization mark. If we could go back to the previous slide, please. There you can see the 2010 population number versus the 2020.
So I say we grew, yeah, based upon those numbers, okay. I knew we grew a lot in the last few years. If you drive in Lee County, you know that. So you see all the rooftops here compared to 10 years ago. So we know we definitely grow. Does the count show you throughout the community as far as like based upon minority groups, either Hispanic or whatever group it is, does it show where the population is?
Yes, sir, we get those counts as well. Some of that data we published this morning. I do want to let the board know that there is a web page on the county website for redistricting. Just this morning we were able to publish some of the data that you're talking about, the demographic data, as well as this map. We'll be releasing the public schedule via social media and other channels. So, but the short answer is yes, we have that data. We're working through it now, and as we dissect where exactly the population resides, we'll continue to publish that in more detail.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can we go to the next slide again?
Sure.
What does, I don't care who answers this, what does the law say that we have to be within how many percentages of, for that bottom line, the deviation of each district?
Mr. Chairman, plus or minus 5%, Mr.
5%, so we're not, well, what am I looking at there at the 5.28?
Yes, sir. You have two districts that barely missed the mark, Districts 1 and 2.
So we have to do more work on those. All 5 have to be within the 5%. Is that what you're saying, Counselor?
Yes, sir.
And that'll happen after our public hearings. Can we go back to the public hearing slides, please? Yeah, these. I've received, and I think all of us received, some input from a citizens group that would like to get more involved. What I want you to do is kind of walk me through this, and because I see people in the audience that are probably here for this subject matter. I want to be able to assure everybody that there will be not just input opportunities, but very adequate input opportunities for any citizens group, small or large, to approach us publicly. These will be hearings where the commission will sit and take input.
Yes, sir. These will be public hearings in this chamber, 9:30 a.m. each day. So you've got October 5th, November 2nd, and November 16th. You will then have another public meeting agenda item on December 7th as well.
Procedurally, Mr. Chairman, are we going to be having today input on this subject, or will this be under the heading of any subject anybody wants to speak to after the regular meeting.
As this is a county manager item, we had anticipated that coming at the end of the meeting, Commissioner, but I don't know if the chair wants to handle that differently.
Okay, as long as they're allowed to speak if they want to today while we're here.
I'll be able to take all public comment during public comment, and you could talk on this particular item. We typically don't have public comment under county or.
I know we typically don't, but three of us can do what we want. I just want to make certain the people that went to the
I have
trouble
all
to be here
intentions
today.
of all people.
What a guy. Thank you.
I have a question of the county attorney. County attorney, I remember reading the statute or covered this years ago, but through this whole process, what's the limitations on an involvement and how much can we be involved or not involved with this process?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The board members individually can participate to the extent they would participate in any matter. However, that participation has to be driven by the requisites of the statute in terms of you cannot direct or command that the staff prepare a map which would not comply with Florida law, for instance. Not that any of you would do that. So your participation is fact-based. You can certainly represent the interests of your constituents should they present specific questions to you, facilitate responses as the basis for the staff position. But you could not mandate a position that would be contrary to law.
And this mapping does not change, which is under our county charter. Our current election process is county-wide and a partisan race, correct?
Mr. Chairman, again, Commissioner, you bring up a very valid point, and I think one that needs to be made and made repeatedly. I think some people have conflated this issue with the single-member district issue that you all spoke about in relation to the school board. Commissioners, as you know, pursuant to your charter, county commissioners are elected countywide. Every citizen eligible to vote in Lee County votes on all 5 of you. 3 in 2-year cycles, and then the following 2 years, 2 of you are up for re-election. Every authorized voter in Lee County gets to vote on all 5 of you. That is opposed to a single-member district scenario where only members of that district would vote for a specific commissioner. That is how the school board is set up. That's not how you're set up, and that is not the process that's underway here. This process is redistricting, which is the decennial census-based reallocation of population to make the districts as equal as possible. Redistricting is separate and apart from single-member districts, which would have to be taken up as part of a charter review process and a possible change to the charter. It is not on the table as part of this discussion. 2 totally separate functions.
I believe the next charter review is in 2028, I believe.
Yes, sir, in advance for the adoption of the 2030 charter.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Great. Any other county manager items?
No, sir. Just a reminder, this afternoon, we have workshop at 1:30 and the public hearing, first public hearing for the budget tonight at 5:05.
Thank you, sir. County attorney items.
Nothing further for your consideration this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I have a stack of cards here on the public presentations, public comments. The first one is Bobby D'Alessandro.
Good morning. As a Lee County citizen, I respectfully request, in addition to your public hearings, that the BOC consider having a diverse citizen advisory committee to help in developing a recommended plan for adjusting the district boundaries. This would assist in community input, being a part of such an important decision. The City of Cape Coral has already posted public to apply for a 7-member districting commission. Sounds like a good idea to me. I urge your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your public comment. Next is Sarah Mcdonald. Sarah here? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
I'm Sarah Mcdonald, the president of the League of Women Voters of Lee County. The League is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. On behalf of our members, I would urge all of you to include representative input from citizens throughout the process. I urge you to work transparently as you go about the redistricting of Lee County. Redistricting must be accomplished in an open and unbiased manner. Let citizens know and understand how you will draw the districts. Let citizens be a part of this very important process. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next card is Carolyn Norris.
Good morning, Board of County Commissioners. My name is Carolyn Norris, and currently I'm president of the Lee County Democratic Black Caucus and a concerned citizen. Thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts about the redistricting process. I'm here to advocate for the development of a Citizens Advisory Committee whose objective is to provide ideas, feedback, and input into the redistricting process in Lee County. Drawing the political maps and boundary lines in Lee County without the input of its citizens may diminish voters' voices on issues they care most about. And in this time of COVID, kitchen table issues are paramount. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. I'm here with several of my members, so that's to give me this moral support to get up here and speak, and I'll be through in a moment. As a voter in Lee County, I would like to believe that we honor an egalitarian process where voters select politicians rather than politicians that may reconfigure boundaries to select voters. And I hear a process from Commissioner Pendergrass that seems to be well placed. But moreover, African American communities like Dunbar has shown where it was splintered and one part was absorbed by North Fort Myers. It just appears that that may be a community which they may not share like-minded citizenry, mutual interests, and needs. So in closing, I'm here to express the need for a fair, equitable, and transparent process. How can we do this? By opening the redistricting process to a Citizens Advisory Committee for input and commentary. It's imperative and befitting that an inclusive advisory committee has a seat at the table instead of being an item on the menu. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next card I have is Jerry Ware.
Excuse me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is my pleasure to come before you this morning to speak, as I have always, to advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. I'm proud to say that the city, before the census began its process, was wise enough to create a committee. And I'm happy to say that I was one of those appointed to chair that committee. So, as a result of that committee, we worked diligently with the census to improve the count here for Lee County. And as a result, on August the 12th, the United States Census Bureau released block-level data from the 2020 census, kicking off the redistricting process nationwide. Cities and suburbs saw the largest population gains. The eastern area of the city of Fort Myers saw the largest growth here locally. During my conversation with the city manager last week, I was informed that redistricting would affect Ward 6. Since 6 is contiguous to the Dunbar community, which composes the majority of the black voters, my questions to you are, why have you not developed the citizen committee to assist you in your redistricting? Number 2, will you change the areas of District 4 and take the majority of black voters out of Cape Coral? It is not contiguous. That is, it is not adjacent, nor is it adjoining, and definitely not next door. Why I say that, when you showed your maps, Districts 1, 2, 3, and 5 are contiguous. District 4 reaches Dunbar area all the way over to Burnt Store Road, Vizcaya, all the way to the Charlotte County line. What you have done, you have diluted the black vote. That to me is gerrymandering. Now, what according to the amendment, and I'm going to read you what the Amendment 6 says, so that you'll wonder why I'm saying contiguous. Amendment 6 says, congressional districts or districting plans may not be drawn to favor or disfavor an incumbent or political party. Districts shall not be drawn to deny racial or language minorities the equal opportunity to participate in the political process, an elected representative of their choice. Districts must be contiguous. Unless otherwise required, district must be compact, as equal in population as possible. You did with your maps. You got, in 2011, you drew those maps. There's 123,000 voters in each one of them. But how did you arrive at the 123 for District 4 is very, very unfair to the Dunbar community. I would like to read last for you a comment that was given to me to read from an attorney, and I concur with her. Commissioner Mann, if you recall, in 1982, I ran for school board during that time.
I remember well.
I know you do, but that's when the time, Melvin Morgan, you were able to finally get us a commissioner, a black commissioner at that, and I thank you for that. I'm going to read this from attorney Jennifer Shafira, and I concur. In 2011, and what appears to be somewhat of a last-minute decision, the Board of County Commissioners voted 3-2 to approve a redistricting plan that separated Dunbar voters from the city of Fort Myers voters, changing Dunbar's voting district from District 2 to District 4. Prior to enactment of the 2011 redistricting plan, 37% of the District 2 was comprised of minority voters. And after the redistricting plan, District 2 only had 14 and 10% minority voters. Not only did this redistricting effectively dilute the minority vote in District 2, Dunbar voters were pulled into a district across the Caloosahatchee, reaching all the way to the Charlotte County line, not contiguous. A violation of redistricting norms. The results of this redistricting is that it's absolutely, substantially more difficult to elect a minority candidate for the school board in District 4. Commissioner, I heard you allude to the fact that the school district does not have to adhere to your maps. Furthermore, the 2011 redistricting plan has preemptively defeated a challenge that the at-large Board of County Commission elections are race discriminatory, as the 2011 redistricting plan has made it near impossible for a minority candidate to win in District 4. I did this currently this past 2018 to document the fact that it is difficult for a minority to win in District 4. I ran for school board again. I hope that you, this Board of County Commissioners, does not maintain that pushing Dunbar voters into a district across the Caloosahatchee will due to a legitimate redistricting objective, especially as the initial recommended redistricting plan addressed population equalization without doing the same. Additionally, I discourage you, the Board of County Commissioners, from a position that is not enough time to make a change. The harm of 2011 redistricting plan has been known for almost 10 years. It is my hope that the Board of County Commissioners take immediate action and right the wrong of 2011. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for your comments. I have one last card, Jasmine Miller.
Good morning, I'm Jasmine Miller, JD. What a beautiful board. It's missing a woman and it's missing a true African American. Hope you'll do the redistricting right this time. But now let me get to my meat. The light. You know that light where the pedestrian cross? You need to put a voice there that says, stop pedestrian crossing. Stop pedestrian crossing. 2 Saturdays ago, somebody tried to kill me, literally came at me. And if they did kill me, I told my son to sue all of you, you and the city together. So you need to go ahead and redo those lights at the pedestrian crosswalk and stop focusing on the homeless people panhandling. The motorists are killing the homeless pedestrians. Okay, that's my first point. Second, I would like for you to start building permanent houses for the homeless people, not putting us with slumlords anymore. We're going to the slum houses, they kick us out in a minute. We're back in the street because we're not going to put up with slumlords. And what you do with our money that the president sent to you to rehouse us, do you pocket it or do you send it back to the feds? I would like for you to use that money and build permanent houses for us. We're tired of being recycled homeless people. Second point made. Oh, I'd like for you to get together with the city and build a nice hotel for the homeless. Not just for homeless, but for people to come in to the county during the winter. Where are you going to put them? You're going to let them sleep out in the cold again? Last winter, I stayed out in the cold. Okay, I want to prepare you now. Go ahead and talk to the Red Cross and tell them we need some blankets, because that's the only way we're going to withstand the cold again, because you're all sleeping in your offices again. Now, I would like to say something to you. A family, I looked up on the internet, it says, a family may be a single person or a group of persons. Family as defined by HUD includes a family with a child or children, 2 or more elderly or disabled persons living together, 1 or more elderly or disabled persons living with an or more living aids, or a single person. Yes, a family can be 1 person. You need to start housing all the single people in hotels too. Okay? Now I'd like to share the best part. Psalm 73, 23, and 24. But now I am continually with you. You have taken hold of my right hand. You guide me with your advice, and afterward you will lead me to glory. So consult with God, Almighty God, before you redistrict. Consult with him before you do anything. May Jehovah bless you. Jehovah Nisi. May Jehovah protect us from the virus. Have a great day.
Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Feel free to come up. Just state your name for the record, please.
My name is Audria Anderson. I've lived in this community for 45 years. I reared my family here. I am the widow of the late Judge Isaac Anderson. I have worked in this community those years, first at Edison College, which is now Florida Southwestern, and I retired from Florida Gulf Coast University after having served on the Board of Regents. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to address you on an issue that is very important to us, and I'm sure it's important to you. First of all, I'd like to thank the people who came here this morning on this particular issue. So I'll ask you to please stand so that the commissioners can see that this issue has traction, that we are interested, and that we want to be involved. Please stand if you came here on this particular issue. Thank you. These people represent many organizations within the community and, of course, outside the community. I thank you for giving us this opportunity. I also thank you for giving us some information That was going to be my first comment, to ask for information on the redistricting process for Lee County. So I'm glad to hear that there is a beginning, that you have begun the process. It was the first time that I had heard that you had begun the process. So I'll jump right in. We respectfully request that you conduct a transparent, open, and fair redistricting process that involves the public. Form a citizen redistricting advisory committee that is diverse and representative of the people of Lee County. The committee should work collaborative with the board and staff to develop, discuss, and review options. In other words, the advisory committee should be engaged meaningfully throughout the entire process from the beginning to the end. This task is not easy, but with conscientious work, openness, and equal respect for minority communities, a result can emerge that will make the board and all citizens proud. We live in a democracy where the rights of the minority are respected by the majority. In this case, the minority has a right to have a voice and be heard. In the 2011 redistricting process, the Lee Board of County Commissioners approved the plan that separated part of the Dunbar community and paired it with parts of North Fort Myers across the Caloosahatchee. That is gerrymandering. Gerrymandering dilutes the voice of minority communities. The people within communities share common values, interests, and issues. When you mute their voices, you actually lose a vital link to the constituents you took an oath to serve. Redistricting officials are required to follow the Fair District Constitutional Amendment of 2010, which created a set of fair, clear criteria. Amendments 5 and 6 are the collective work of the Florida League of Women Voters and other statewide partners. We respectfully request that the Lee County redistricting process and result abide by the fair and clear criteria of Amendments 5 and 6. Thank you for listening, and thank you for the hard work that you do on behalf of our county. We love it, and we know that you love it, and you want to uphold the principles of democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you. Give the boys my best.
I just want to say, she mentioned she was Judge Anderson's widow. I haven't seen you in many years, but I would say thank you to your husband's service. I know my co-worker back there, Johnny Streets, we worked together many years and sat in traffic court a lot with your husband. So Judge Anderson was quite a figure here in Lee County. He was quite scary too sometimes if you're on the other side of the table to the dependents, right, Johnny? So Judge Anderson was a good man, though. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other public comments?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I like to speak in public. Oh, some of y'all know me. My name is Stephanie House, and I've lived in Lee County. Well, I'm what you call a transplant. I've lived in Lee County just over 25 years, but I'm not a native. And I've sat back and I've listened, and sometimes it just can't, after I've listened for a little while, I just got to speak up. And I've been told that I like to speak up for those that won't speak up. But I kind of piggyback on what everybody else has said, and it's about this redistricting. I'm familiar with the Dunbar community. That's where I come to worship every Sunday. but I also am familiar with a lot of other civic organizations here. And I'm also familiar with the redistricting element. And one of those points that someone brought up about people misunderstanding your county redistricting with school board redistricting. Now, some people have that misconception because people won't clarify. And even when you clarify, some people still can't grasp that concept. And another problem with that is this time element right here while you're having this meeting. Some of us were informed, thank goodness, by that computerized chain. You know, social working, beg your pardon, social communicating. Someone gave me the information about how to come to this meeting today. But the networking wasn't out there. Everybody doesn't use a computer. So that's how I found out about this meeting. You have to inform the public. They have a right to know, especially about this important part of their community. The Dunbar community has already been left out of the last redistricting. And the school board, whether it directly impacts this particular part of it, people do believe they two go together. And they do need to know the difference. What you do with this redistricting, Dunbar has part of their element moving east. So you don't need to bring that half into Lehigh Acres right now. They went across the water before. They don't need to come across 82 this time. You've had more than enough people move into the community this time. Make sure you get it right this time, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, I'll close public comments now. No other matters before the board. I'll call for an adjournment. Thank you very much.